On today's show, the LA Clippers get absolutely thrashed by the Boston Celtics for their worst loss of the season. Was it a case of the Celtics just being too good, or was it a bad performance by the Clips? Going to be talking about it all on today's Locked On Clippers.
You are Locked On Clippers, your daily Los Angeles Clippers podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Yes, sir. You were locking in with the Clips. Thank you for making Locked On Clippers the first listen of your day, your team every day. I'm your host, Darian Vaziri, born and raised in LA and in my 20th season as a Clipper fan. You can also follow me on Twitter and Instagram at DimeDropperPod and subscribe to my own YouTube channel, Dime Dropper, for even more LA Clipper and LA sports content. Went live directly after the game for my raw reaction, and Locked On Clippers is free and available wherever you get your podcasts, including YouTube. Let me know what you thought of the game, and I really want to hear your thoughts. And make sure you subscribe. Hit the notification bell so you know every single time we post a video. And if you can't watch the video, you can always listen wherever you get your podcasts. And Locked On Clippers now has a newsletter. Introducing the Locked On Clippers Daily Newsletter. One stop for ultimate team and league coverage delivered right to your inbox. I write it, so it would be really appreciated if you signed up for it. And where you can do that is LockedOnDaily.com. That's LockedOnDaily.com, and start your day with the all-new free Locked On Clippers newsletter. And this episode is brought to you by Built. There's no cost to join Built, and as a member, you'll earn valuable points on rent and on your everyday spending. Start earning points on rent you're already paying by going to joinbuilt.com/LockedOnNBA. That's joinbuilt.com/LockedOnNBA. All right. Well, Clipper Nation, that was rough. 126-94, our worst loss of the season thus far, and the Celtics were just raining threes. And when the Celtics are raining threes like that, contested, there's nothing you can do. The fact that they made our elite defense look so mediocre and dropped 126 points on us with their starters not even playing in the fourth quarter, really. I mean, they stayed in for a while, but, there was a good amount of garbage time in there. I mean, that says more to me about the Celtics than it does us. So my takeaway from this game, we really had no shot. If they're going to hit like that, we just don't have the talent in the shot making. It's that simple. You see, that may sound like a defeatist attitude, but let's just look at the facts. Kristaps Porzingis made his return. They now have a starting lineup of Kristaps Porzingis, Jason Tatum, Jaylen Brown, Derek White, and Jrue Holiday. That's the best starting lineup in basketball. That is the best starting lineup in basketball. We don't have Norman Powell or Kawhi Leonard. And even if you have Norman Powell and Kawhi Leonard, I think most people that aren't Clipper or Celtics fans would think the Celtics are better. So we were already, especially on the second night of a back-to-back, we're already going into the game with an uphill battle. And you know what? First 6-7 minutes, we looked like we could hang. James Harden was doing a really good job getting downhill, even on some of the best defenders in the NBA, which makes you think, James Harden the last couple of games has shown more burst than the beginning of the season, so it looks like he's starting to catch his stride. But the Celtics just started pouring it on, mainly in the second quarter. They outscored us 27-20 in the first. And what makes the Celtics so great is not just their offensive prowess, but all those guys can guard. So they're just a better team than us. But when they're a better team, the thing is about sports is you can be the worst team and still win on a given night. Every Clipper fan knows we're not better than the Boston Celtics, but we can go in there and maybe get a win. We've been able to do that the last couple of years. Like, for example, last year, the Celtics did win the championship, but we smacked them in Boston. Now, granted, Porzingis didn't play in that game, but neither did Zubats. But we were rolling at the time. So a lot of it's also in the regular season. What point of the season are you at in terms of your own journey? Are you at the peaking time? Or are you in a slump playing that team? Point being that we could get a win over the Celtics, but when they're shooting like that, there's just no chance. And look, I'm not going to give the Clipper defense a complete bailout. I think at times we were lazy in transition. At halftime, David Pingalore said he talked to Brian Shaw, and the main thing he said was there are some possessions where we're not getting back in transition, because the thing about the Celtics is they have 5 guys that can create their own shot, 4 of them that are fantastic at putting it on the floor and making a play, which is more than some teams, and more than most teams. And not only are they good at putting it on the floor and making a play, no, I'm sorry, not only can they do that, they're good at it, right? They have a bunch of shooters, and they all can guard. So they beat us in the defensive department, maybe not so far this season, but they have a bunch of point of attack guys that are elite, right? And then offensively, their, talent is far supersedes ours in that department. And so far, the Celtics are 8th in defensive rating. We're 5th. Obviously, we're still not even 20 games into the season, so things are going to constantly change. But I would have a strong confidence that I could win a bet by betting that the Celtics, I almost said the Sixers, the Celtics and the Clippers are going to be top 10 in defensive rating this season. But, I mean, when guys like Chris Dunn and Derrick Jones Jr. are getting blown by Jason Tatum, because does that mean that Derrick Jones Jr. and Chris Dunn aren't good defenders all of a sudden? No. You can argue maybe they're a little tired, but that's Jason Tatum. You know what I mean? That's why the Boston Celtics are champions. So, yes, we were missing Norman Powell and Kawhi Leonard, so it's not a fair fight. I mean, let's just take Kawhi out of the equation because he hasn't been on our team so far this season. So let's just say we had Norman Powell. We're still significantly worse than this team. Does it give us a better chance to win that game? Yes. But sometimes, you got to admit when a team's just better than you. Their ability to get 2 feet in the paint and cause help defense to come is much stronger than ours because we have 1 or 2 guys that can create shots. They have 5 in their starting lineup. We have like 3, and one of those 3 is Kevin Porter Jr. Kevin Porter Jr. might not even get in the Celtics rotation. So there's just levels to it. They've mastered their game, and they also play a math game where they just gun as many threes as they can. Sometimes it looks awful, but when they start making them, which they have a tendency to do because they're very good three-point shooters, but when they get really hot, unless you are, because you're not getting stops in this hypothetical, unless you are hitting threes and consistently scoring down the other end, you don't have a chance. And we got some good Zubats post-ups. We got some good James Harden stuff, but it was nowhere near enough. And they'll take the Zubats post-up. They'll take away the three-point shot with us and just play the math game. They know they'll be able to create better shots. They know they'll be able to make more threes. So there's a real formula there with the Celtics, and that's part of why they're champs. So for me, my takeaway is Monday night, we just had no shot. Second night of a back-to-back, defending champs. We got smacked. It is what it is. I don't think it's a big deal. It's one game. We move on. Let's bounce back. We got Washington next. Complete polar opposite end of the spectrum of the current NBA right now, going from the best team in the league for me, defending champs, to one of the worst. So let's just set our sights on Washington. But, man, that was rough. 126-94. Coming up, going to talk more about the individual performances from our players and also what struggle pick and pop teams offer us. I got to tell you a little something about Built. Public service announcement for anyone who rents. If you haven't heard of Built, you're about to thank me. Earning points on rent is now a reality when you pay your rent through Built. You don't even have to check with your landlord to start earning points that you can use toward flights, hotel stays, fitness classes, and even your next rent payment. Let me break it down for you. There's no cost to join Built, and as a member, you'll earn valuable points on rent and on your everyday spending. Built points can be transferred to your favorite hotels and airlines, and even the ones you haven't heard of. There are over 500 airlines and 700,000 hotels and properties around the world you can redeem your Built points toward. Points can also be redeemed towards a future rent payment and unique experiences that only Built members can access. So if you're not earning points on rent, my question is, why not? Start earning points on rent you're already paying by going to joinbuilt.com/lockedonnba. That's joinbilt.com/lockedonnba. Make sure to use our URL so they know we sent you. Joinbuilt.com/lockedonnba to start earning points on your rent payments today. I got to tell you a little something about Robinhood. With Robinhood Gold, you don't need a silver spoon to eat up the financial favors of the 1%. Robinhood Gold allows others to get the rates and perks usually reserved for the high society. Now, the resourceful individual with Robinhood Gold can earn the very liberal rate of 4.25% APY on uninvested cash and be rewarded with a handsome 3% retirement boost on IRA account contributions. Robinhood Gold provides the privileges of a high net worth for any net worth. These generous benefits are now available for only $5 a month. The new gold standard is here with Robinhood Gold. Sign up at robinhood.com/gold. Terms apply. For product-specific disclosures, visit robinhood.com/gold. Investing involves risk. Rate may change. Gold membership is offered by Robinhood Gold, LLC. All right. Clippers with their worst loss of the season so far, 126-94. But let me ask you this. If you were to ask any fan, what would you want the worst loss of the Clippers season to be? I know it's a weird question, but I would say, probably the toughest game of the schedule, which is at Boston, the defending champs. So I got no issue with that. For me, with the Clippers, it's like, let's just get the games that we should win. And hopefully that keeps us above 500. So we'll be in that play-in range, maybe even higher, until Kawhi comes back. But with Norman Powell, this is the first game we've lost without Norman Powell. 3-1 without him. We're a solid team. But, how sustainable is it long-term? I still have my questions, but I definitely think we can stay around a 500 pace or a little over 500 the whole year. If James Harden can play every game, though, that's my fear, is any games that James Harden misses or if Ivica Zubac misses, they're going to be tough to win. We didn't have Mo Bamba in this game, so it caused us to go small. One thing I found surprising, though, was that Kobe Brown came in off the bench in rotation minutes. That was kind of surprising for me. And he looked very hesitant when he came in. Finally ended up making a three on a James Harden behind-the-back pass on a pick and pop. But he looked even more hesitant than Terrence Mann in his minutes. He played 5 minutes, scored 3 points on 1-for-2 shooting with his only 3 being made. But, in the beginning of the game, this is what Boston was going to do. They were going to try to get Kristaps Porzingis back into the swing of things by running him in a ton of pick and pops, which this has always been the problem with Zoo, or not just Zoo, but any guy that's a drop-heavy big, is a drop coverage big wants to go defend the rim. But when you have a pick and pop 5-man, that causes issues, right? Because if you want to go by the rim, well, your guy's not rolling, so you're not able to help and recover as easy. You kind of have to make a choice. Are you sticking to your man that's picking and popping and letting the guy that's coming, the ball handler that's coming off the screen, just have a rim run, red carpet to the rim? Or are you leaving the big guy open for 3, which most teams would probably rather do? That burns the Clippers when you got guys like Kristaps Porzingis. Now, in the beginning of the game, it wasn't like he was scorching from deep. In the first quarter, he was 1 for 4 from 3. But his threat, it causes the defense to rotate, and now you're in rotation. So pick and pop teams, they're going to cause us some problems. And, the second quarter, these guys were just hitting tough shots. Some of them were lazy closeouts. There were a couple miscommunications where when we're going small and we should be switching everything on and off ball, Nicholas Batum and KPJ, I think there was 1 or 2 times where both of them were involved in a miscommunication where they weren't switching. And I saw the frustrated look of their teammates. It's like, we got to be switching these guard to guard, forward to guard, screening actions, especially if we're small. That's the whole point. So that's just kind of a lapse in concentration, which has not been very common from our defense this season. But, when you have the best of the best, it's not coincidence that you end up making more mistakes. As far as our defense, we had Derek Jones Jr. guarding Jason Tatum primarily, Chris Dunn on Jaylen Brown, Ivica Zubac on Kristaps Porzingis, and I thought we did a good job to start the game. On their side of things, they had Derek White, Drew Holiday, and Jaylen Brown, a carousel of guys guarding James Harden. And when Neemias Queta was in, they were hedging the pick and rolls and trying to rotate on the backside, which they do a pretty good job of doing. And they were also okay with letting Ivica Zubac go up with that floater, that push shot, because they were exchanging 2 for 3. As I said, that math game. Now, I don't think that should change our approach at all in terms of jacking up more threes or anything like that. We played the Celtics. We're not as good as them. They were making every three. A lot of them were contested. It is what it is. You know what I'm saying? You just got to tip your cap and move on. They shot 51% from the field and 43% from three and shot 51 threes, which was almost double our attempts. But here's the thing. If we just jack up those threes, especially without Norman Powell, we're not going to shoot well. So it's not going to be good process on our part. They have snipers all over the court, and Derek White is just making threes with a hand in his face from 30 feet every game. It's like ridiculous. So I just got to, you just got to tip your hat. Jaylen Brown, 3 for 7 from 3. Derek White, 5 for 9 from 3. Peyton Pritchard was coming in just draining. And it doesn't surprise me at all because one of my best friends, co-coaches, roomed with him at Oregon and played on the team with him. And he's told me about what Peyton's capable of for many years. I'm not surprised that each year he's gotten better. He's a hardworking guy, and he really has always been a sniper. 20 points off the bench. He hit 6 out of his 10 threes. So, I mean, the Celtics are hard to guard. The dilemma is if you want to play drop coverage, you're screwed. The other alternative is hedging and recovering, but because Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown are so tall, they can just lob the pass over to somebody in that short roll. They have 5 guys that can put it on the floor and make a read, Al Horford being another one that can kind of do that as well. And then they have such great shooters spaced out that it's so hard to recover. So they're getting open threes all the time if you blitz or hedge. And then if you switch, they now have their pick of the litter in isolation, whether it be Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown is obviously their top 2, and then Porzingis against small guys, which is a new element they had last year, but technically they didn't have it last year in the playoffs, and then you have Derek White and Drew Holiday. Like, Drew Holiday one time took Nico to the basket and went over the top of him as if Nico was like 6'4", and you don't see Nico get shot over by smaller guys like that. Usually the long arms of Nico, cause misses all the time. But Drew just didn't even get by him fully. Just turned the corner and went up right over him. And I was like, what the hell? They made Chris Dunn and Derek Jones Jr. just look decent defensively. So I think pick and pop teams could cause us some issues. However, I don't know. It's like when we go small, we got to be sharper switching everything, because then it comes down to us staying in front of the ball. The best thing you can do against the Celtics, the team that's going to stand the best chance against them, is having a really good 5-out unit that can switch and then guard one-on-one and keep the ball in front. We didn't do a good enough job keeping the ball in front in this game. We didn't do a good enough job doing about anything this game, but the Celtics, as I'm trying to emphasize, you might be saying, are you being so nice to them because you went to college over there? No, I don't really, I have no rooting interest in the Celtics right now or ever. Just I have a respect for their history, just like I do with the Lakers and the Bulls and whatnot. But no, I don't root for them in any way, or Boston sports in any way. I actively want them to lose. But I'm saying this because I don't want Clipper fans to get so worked up over this loss, because I'm watching the game and it's like these guys are just draining every three. And I know what the Celtics can do. They've done this. They're the champs. That's why I say it just reminds you the level. They're the bar right now. Just like the way we were talking about Denver last year was the bar, the Celtics are the bar right now. And we're far from that bar, especially without Norman Powell. When we have Kawhi, that's going to be interesting. How far are we from that bar? Like, if we had a lineup of Kawhi, Nico, Chris Dunn, James Harden, and Derek Jones Jr., I didn't include Norm for a reason. I think we could only have one defender that's target worthy, which would be James or Norm. That lineup can switch everything and try to keep the ball in front, and you have guys that are big enough to maybe put a body on Porzingis and make things tougher for him. But the fact that we were so desperate defensively that we went with Zoo switching 1 through 5 shows that we struggle a bit against those pick and pop teams because Zoo is a drop guy, and now Zoo has to then guard perimeter guys. So it's tough. But anyway, coming up, going to talk a little bit more about the individual performances from our guys, some bright spots, and why we need to just be calm. Going to be talking about that coming up. I got to tell you a little something about Skims. Underwear is one of the most important parts of your wardrobe. You really want to feel comfortable when it comes to that part of your daily attire. Even though I wear underwear every day, I've not switched up the type of underwear since maybe 2023. For those who haven't heard yet, Skims now offers men's underwear, and I'm here to tell you it's worth the hype. As you know, I do a lot of exercise. I'm big into physical fitness, whether it be playing basketball or at the gym, but I've never liked wearing that synthetic feeling workout underwear, especially when I'm done at the gym. When I tried Skims stretch boxer briefs, it felt like I finally found the missing link. They give me all the movement I need for working out without feeling like I'm walking around wearing gym clothes the rest of the day. Plus, they never lose their shape or ride up. And maybe it's in my head, but I swear, since I started wearing these, my days have been better. Shop Skims Men's at skims.com/LockedOnNBA. Let them know we sent you. After you place your order, select podcast in the survey and select our show in the drop-down menu that follows. And if you're looking for the perfect gifts for the whole family, Skims just launched their biggest holiday shop ever. Also available at skims.com/LockedOnNBA. All right. So, just felt like we had no shot in that 126-94 loss at TD Garden to the Celtics. We struggle against pick and pop teams, that's for sure, but a lot of teams do when they have drop bigs that aren't, the best at switching 1 through 5. I think that's something you need is a big that can switch 1 through 5. That's where Mo Bamba could have helped us a bit, but he was obviously out because, they're kind of load managing him since he just came back from that injury. So, it makes sense, but it definitely hurt us. As far as other individual performances, I thought, we did a pretty decent job in the third quarter of making a little push. We cut the game down to 15. Derek Jones Jr. was playing very well to start that third quarter, knocked down an open three, and then he gambled, trying to go for a steal, and Peyton Pritchard made us pay with a three, and then Sam Hauser made a three right after, and it just felt like after that we didn't really have an answer. Chris Dunn, I talked about how he didn't really feel like, the crazy impactful Chris Dunn that he has been lately. He was 1 for 5 from the field and 0 for 2 from 3 in this game. 2 points, 4 rebounds, 2 assists, 3 steals and a block, and 2 turnovers. He didn't have a very good game, but it's hard for me to complain about anything Chris Dunn this season. You know what I mean? So I just say, be calm. It's one bad game. It is what it is. Derek Jones Jr., another double-figure scoring night for him. 11 points, 2 rebounds, 1 assist. 4 for 6 from the field, 1 for 2 from 3. I think he's just been very good so far this season and don't have many complaints about his performance. Amir Coffey, totally non-existent. He's been really good without Norman Powell. He's been really good with Norman Powell. But he was just 2 for 8 from the field and 0 for 3 from deep tonight. And we shot 43% from the field and just 27% from 3. So it just wasn't our game. It is what it is. And it was very much theirs. And yeah, Amir Coffey, just a rough game for him. Zoo and James, I think they played well, actually. James had some good moments in isolation, had some good moments in pick and roll. Zoo had some fantastic low post finishes. One thing I've noticed, though, is, when teams try to take away the James Harden pull-up and force that pocket pass to Zoo, but Zoo catches it like beyond the foul line, he's kind of hesitant to take that foul line push shot. He likes taking it inside the key because, granted, that is pretty far for that push shot. But, I mean, if he's not going to take a mid-range off the catch, which he doesn't, he might have to take it to just keep the defense honest. And there were a couple of times where KPJ and James Harden are coming off screens, and their lack of stopping on a dime to pull is hurting them because it's allowing the defense to recover. Defensively, I mean, I feel like I've kind of harped on everything. The pick and pop nature of the Celtics hurt. Then when we had to switch Zubats out on the perimeter, he was getting blown by. But Jason Tatum was blowing by our good defenders. And when Jason Tatum is getting downhill, I mean, it's very hard to stop him with that kind of spacing around him as well. Kevin Porter Jr., what kind of game would he have? Oh, let me read the stat line for Harden and Zoo first, though. James Harden had 19 points, 8 rebounds, 9 assists. Did turn the ball over 5 times, though. But he shot pretty well. 8 for 17 from the field, 3 for 8 from 3 in 30 minutes. Thought he was pretty solid. Zubats, very good game. 23 points, 10 rebounds, at least offensively. Defensively, he struggled because Celtics are just a rough matchup for him, quite frankly. But 23 points, 10 rebounds, 1 assist, 1 block, a turnover on 11 for 14 shooting. So that's what happens when you don't send doubles, you don't have people help. You look at the efficiency. 11 for 14 and another double-double. Let's see. Third quarter. Oh, by the way, Zubats was also getting torched when Jaylen Brown and the likes were coming off screens and he was in drop coverage. They were just pulling up for threes. That was causing Zoo to come out a little further, and then they got into short roll situations. So, just about everything they were able to counter, and Zoo started, as I said, Zoo started coming up higher. That's how they got into those short roll situations. And, the refs weren't doing us any favors in the second quarter either when they were making that big run. There was one time where Jason Tatum straight up stiff-armed Derrick Jones Jr. going to the basket, and Derrick got called on the foul swiping down after the stiff arm. So it was what it was. Everything was just unraveling all at once. We couldn't hit our open shots. They were hitting everything. I mean, they scored 51 points in the second quarter. 51-29, they outscored us. We only won one of the quarters, and that was the third, where we outscored them 29-21. But 51 points. And Clipper Nation, that this is a team that has been working their asses off defensively. This wasn't a lack of effort. This was just we looked a little tired, and the Celtics were just going berserk. That's all I can say about it. So everyone needs, I'm not even saying that I'm seeing overreactions, but I know we have a tendency as sports fans to overreact. No need to panic. We got to relax. It's just one game. It's the Celtics. They went ballistic. 51 points in a quarter against us the way we're defending right now is insane. There's definitely a level of, okay, we didn't play good enough defense, but there's also a level of their shooting. Kevin Porter Jr., though, he was a rough watch in this one. And I keep going back and forth because, at first I'm like, KPJ when Kawhi's healthy is the 11th guy. I still stand by that when Kawhi's healthy. I did say Terrence Mann the other day because Kevin Porter Jr. was playing so well, but ask me, gun in my head, make a choice. Tomorrow, I'm going KPJ out of the rotation. If Kawhi is back and playing like Kawhi, keeping Terrence Mann in there, definitely taking KPJ out. Because I just don't feel like his game translates to the highest levels. I think there'll be really good point of attack defenders against him, and he won't get high quality looks for himself or others. I like his mid-range, that little step-back mid-range, but that leaning floater he takes is I would love to see the percentage on it because it's definitely not good. In this game, Kevin Porter Jr. played 17 minutes. He scored 7 points, grabbed 2 rebounds, had an assist, a steal, a block, and a turnover, and shot 3 for 8 from the field and 0 for 2 from 3. He has not been able to hit threes and was 1 for 2 from the foul line. He was a team worst, minus 27. Eye test checks out. Jordan Miller, not one of his better games. Turned the ball over a bit. Wasn't as efficient. Scored 10 points, though. Got a rebound. Turned the ball over twice. Got a steal as well. Shot 4 for 10 from the field. 0 for 1 from 3. And made both his free throws. we got a full fourth quarter of Bones Highland, and I have to say I wasn't very impressed. I do understand and will acknowledge that it is hard to just come into a game and, get a rhythm. He's had no game time really, just these kind of garbage time minutes. And there are times where Bones Highland does the same thing that KPJ does, where he'll have the step and then he'll step back. And I think with him, it's that he's afraid that he's not going to be able to, score through traffic because he's skinny or he'll get bumped. But I don't know. He's got to have a little more trust in his ability to score through contact, because pulling it back out, he's negating the advantage that he's creating with his speed. If he gets blocked, he gets blocked. He was 0 for 5 and 0 for 2 from 3. Made both his free throws, scored 2 points. Then Nico Batum had a Dunkin' Donut, given there in Massachusetts. 4 rebounds, 1 assist, no turnovers. That was good to see. 0 for 2 from the field, 0 for 1 from 3. Got some Kai Jones minutes. Looked a little all over the place in the fourth quarter. 3 points, 2 rebounds, 1 assist, 1 steal, 1 for 2 from the field. And then there's Terrence Mann, who I thought wasn't very good in the actual minutes that mattered. Similarly to the game on Sunday. Looked a little hesitant. But then he started getting going when we were already kind of dead and buried. He showed some good ball handling stuff, coming off screens for mid-ranges. Showed more aggression when the pressure was kind of off. And he had another game where he shot 50% from 3. This time it was 2 for 4, 4 for 11 from the field, 10 points, 6 boards, 2 assists, and a steal. No turnovers in 23 minutes. So that stat line sounds good. But again, I will reemphasize, it was in the minutes that were, as I've been consistent in saying this episode, kind of garbage time minutes. But anything that can give a player confidence is important, and I'm hoping it is. He is shooting the ball better from 3 the last couple of games. Before this game, they've updated the stats. So right now, he's now shooting 42% from the field and 32.5% from 3. So the 3-point percentage is slowly going up. I think as he sees that percentage increase, he's going to get even more confident. And then once he starts getting confident offensively, he's going to be great. But I'll keep the faith in him. And he's got to continue to play well, because Jordan Miller has looked pretty good. And if Kawhi comes back at any moment, it doesn't look like that's going to be anytime soon. But if he does, you don't want to be that odd man out. And, of course, you don't want to get traded. So, tough loss, but it is what it is. Washington next. Let's get it back. Bounce back. You can follow me on Twitter and Instagram at DimeDropperPod. Subscribe to my own YouTube channel, Dime Dropper, where I go live after road games. And, of course, do vlogs for the home games and do all things LA sports. And then Locked On Clippers. Free and available wherever you get your podcasts, including YouTube. Comment what you think and what you thought of the game. Hit the subscribe button. Hit the notification bell. Let's get Locked On Clippers up to 7,000, baby, because we got some of the most loyal fans in the league. And, of course, Locked On Clippers now has a daily newsletter. Your boy writes it. I'd really appreciate it if you subscribed or signed up. Just go to lockedondaily.com and start your day with the all-new free Locked On Clippers newsletter. The age-old proverb continues. Go Clippers.